Poems from the Divan of Hafiz. Arise, O cupbearer, rise, and bring to lips that are thirsting the bowl they praise. For it seemed that love was an easy thing, but my feet have fallen on difficult ways. I have prayed the wind o'er my heart to fling the fragrance of musk in her hair that sleeps. In the night of her hair yet no fragrance stays. The tears of my heart's blood my sad heart weeps. Hear the tavern keeper who counsels you. With wine, with red wine your prayer carpet dot. There was never a traveler like him but knew the ways of the road and the hostelry. Where shall I rest, when the still night through? Beyond thy gateway, O heart of my heart. The bells of the camels lament and cry. Bind up thy burden again and depart. The waves run high, night is clouded with fears, and eddying whirlpools clash and roar. How shall my drowning voice strike their ears, whose light-freighted vessels have reached the shore? I sought mine own, the unsparing years have brought me mine own, a disenured name. What cloak shall cover my misery o'er, when each jesting mouth has rehearsed my shame? O Hafiz, seeking an end to strife, hold fast in thy mind what the wise have writ. If at last thou attain the desire of thy life, cast the world aside, abandon it. 2. The bird of garden sang unto the rose, new blown in the clear dawn, bow down thy head, as fair as thou within this garden close. Many have bloomed and died. She laughed and said, that I am born to fate grieves not my heart. But never was it a true lover's part, to vex with bitter words his love's repose. The tavern step shall be thy hostelry, for love's diviner breath comes but to those that suppliant on the dusty threshold lie. And thou, if thou wouldst drink the wine that flows from life's bejeweled goblet, ruby red, upon thine eyelashes thine eyes shall thread 1,000 tears for this temerity. Last night when I Ram's magic garden slept, stirring the hyacinth's purple tresses curled, the wind of morning through the alley stepped. Where is thy cup, the mirror of the world? Ah, where is love, thou throne of Jeb? I cried. The breezes knew not, but alas they sighed, that happiness should sleep so long, and wept. Not on the lips of men love's secret lies, remote and unrevealed his dwelling place. O Saki, come. The idle laughter dies, when thou the feast with heavenly wine dost grace. Patience and wisdom, Hafiz, in a sea of thine own tears are drowned, thy misery they could not still nor hide from curious eyes. Wind from the east, O lapwing of the day, I send thee to my lady, though the way is far to Saba, where I bid thee fly, lest in the dust thy tameless wings should lie. Broken with grief, I send thee to thy nest. Fidelity, for far or near there is no halting place. Upon love's road absent, I see thy face, and in thine ear my wind-blown greetings sound. North winds and east waft them where they are bound. Each morn and evening voice of greeting fair I send to thee. Unto mine eyes a stranger, thou that art a comrade ever present to my heart. What whispered prayers and what full meed of praise I send to thee, lest sorrow's army waste thy heart's domain. I send my life to bring thee peace again. Dear life, thy ransom from thy singers learn, how one that longs for thee may weep and burn. Sonnets and broken words, sweet notes and songs I send to thee. Give me the cup. A voice rings in mine ears, crying, bear patiently the bitter years. For all thine ills, I send thee heavenly grace. God the Creator mirrored in thy face. Thine eyes shall see God's image in the glass. I send to thee. Hafiz, thy praise alone my comrades say. Hasten to us, thou that art sorrowing, a robe of honor and a harnessed steed I send to thee. 4. Sleep on thine eyes, bright as narcissus flowers, falls not in vain. and not in vain thy hair's soft radiance showers. Ah, not in vain. Before the milk upon thy lips was dry, I said, lips where the salt of wit doth lie, sweets shall be mingled with thy mockery. And not in vain. Thy mouth a fountain where life's waters flow, a dimpled well of tears is set below, and death lies near to life thy lovers know, but no in vain. God sent to thee great length of happy days. Lo, not for his own life thy servant prays. Love's dart in thy bent brows the archer lays, nor shoots in vain. Art thou with grief afflicted, with the smart of absence, and is bitter toil thy part? Thy lamentations and thy tears, O heart, are not in vain. Last night the wind from out her village blew, and wandered all the garden alleys through. O rose, tearing thy bosom's robe in two, 'twas not in vain. And Hafiz, though thy heart abbath in thee does, hiding love's agony from curious eyes. Ah, not in vain thy tears, not vain thy sighs, not all in vain. On Turkish maid of Shiraz, in thy hand, if thou lt take my heart, for the mole on thy cheek, I would barter Bukhara and Samarkand. Bring, cupbearer, all that is left of thy wine. In the garden of paradise vainly thou lt seek the lip of the fountain of Runabad, and the bowers of Mosalla where roses twine. They have filled the city with blood and broil, those soft-voiced lilies for whom we sigh, as Turkish robbers fall on the spoil. They have robbed and plundered the peace of my heart. Dowered is my mistress, a beggar am I. What shall I bring her? A beautiful face. Needs nor jewel nor mole nor the tiring maid's art. Brave tales of singers and wine relate. The key to the hidden 'twere vain to seek. No wisdom of ours has unlocked that gate, and locked to our wisdom it still shall be. But of Joseph's beauty the lute shall speak, and the minstrel knows that Zuleika came forth, love parting the curtains of modesty. When thou spokest ill of thy servant 'twas well. God pardon thee, for thy words were sweet. Not unwelcomed the bitterest answer fell, from lips where the ruby and sugar lay. But, fair love, let good counsel direct thy feet. Far dearer to youth than dear life itself are the warnings of one grown wise and grey. The song is sung and the pearl is strung. Come hither, O Hafiz, and sing again, and the listening heavens above thee hung shall loose o'er thy verse the Pleiades chain. 6. A flower-tinted cheek, the flowery close of the fair earth, these are enough for me. Enough that in the meadow wanes and grows the shadow of a graceful cypress tree. I am no lover of hypocrisy, of all the treasures that the earth can boast. A brimming cup of wine I prize the most. This is enough for me. To them that hear renowned for virtue live, a heavenly palace is the meet reward. To me, the drunkard and the beggar, give the temple of the grape with red wine stored. Beside a river seat thee on the sward. It floweth past, so flows thy life away. So sweetly, swiftly, fleets our little day. Swift, but enough for me. Look upon all the gold in the world's mart, on all the tears the world hath shed in vain. Shall they not satisfy thy craving heart? I have enough of loss, enough of gain. I have my love, what more can I obtain? Mine is the joy of her companionship, whose healing lip is laid upon my lip. This is enough for me. I pray thee send not forth my naked soul from its poorhouse to seek for paradise. Though heaven and earth before me God unroll, back to thy village still my spirit flies. And, Hafiz, at the door of Kismet lies no just complaint, a mind like water clear, a song that swells and dies upon the ear. These are enough for thee. 7. From the garden of heaven a western breeze blows through the leaves of my garden of earth. With a love like a fury I'd take mine ease. And wine. Bring me wine, the giver of mirth. Today the beggar may boast him a king. His banqueting hall is the ripening field, and his tent the shadow that soft clouds fling. A tale of April the meadows unfold. Ah, foolish for future credit to slave, and to leave the cash of the present untold. Build a fort with wine where thy heart may brave the assault of the world, when thy fortress falls. The relentless victor shall need from thy dust the bricks that repair its crumbling walls. Trust not the word of that foe in the fight. Shall the lamp of the synagogue lend its flame to set thy monastic torches alight? Drunken am I, yet place not my name in the book of doom, nor pass judgment on it. Who knows what the secret finger of fate upon his own white forehead has writ? And when the spirit of Hafiz has fled, follow his bier with the tribute of sighs. Though the ocean of sin has closed o'er his head, he may find a place in God's paradise. 8. The rose has flushed red, the bud has burst, and drunk with joy is the nightingale. Hail, Sufis, lovers of wine, all hail, for wine is proclaimed to a world athirst. Like a rock your repentance seemed to you. Behold the marvel of what avail was your rock, for a goblet has cleft it in two. Bring wine for the king and the slave at the gate. Alike for all is the banquet spread, and drunk and sober are warmed and fed. When the feast is done and the night grows late, and the second door of the tavern gapes wide, the low and the mighty must bow the head 'neath the archway of life, to meet what outside, except thy road through affliction pass, none may reach the halting station of mirth. God's treaty, am I not Lord of the earth? Man sealed with a sigh, ah yes, alas, nor with his nor is not, let thy mind contend. Rest assured all perfection of mortal birth in the great is not at the last shall end. For Asap's pomp, and the steeds of the wind, and the speech of birds, down the wind have fled, and he that was lord of them all is dead. Of his mastery nothing remains behind. Shoot not thy feathered arrow astray, a bowshot's length through the air it has sped, and then drop down in the dusty way. But to thee, O Hafiz, to thee, O tongue, that speaks through the mouth of the slender reed, what thanks to thee when thy verses speed from lip to lip, and the song thou hast sung? 9. O cupbearer, set my glass afire with the light of wine. O minstrel, sing the world fulfill let my heart's desire, reflected within the goblet's ring. I see the glow of my love's red cheek, and scant of wit, yet who fail to seek the pleasures that wine alone can bring. Let not the blandishments be checked that slender beauties lavish on me, until in the grace of the cypress deck, my love shall come like a ruddy pine tree. He cannot perish whose heart doth hold the life love breathes, though my days are told. In the book of the world lives my constancy, but when the day of reckoning is here, I fancy little will be the gain that accrues to the sheik for his lawful cheer, or to me for the draught forbidden I drain. The drunken eyes of my comrades shine, and I too, stretching my hand to the wine, on the neck of drunkenness loosen the rein. O wind, if thou passest the garden close of my heart's dear master, carry for me the message I send to him, wind that blows. Why hast thou thrust from thy memory my hapless name? Breathe low in his ear. Knowest thou not that the day is near, when nor thou nor any shall think on me? If with tears, O Hafiz, thine eyes are wet, scatter them round thee like grain, and snare the bird of joy when it comes to thy net. As the tulip shrinks from the cold night air, so shrank my heart and quailed in the shade. O songbird fortune, the toils are laid. When shall thy bright wings lie peaning one there? The heaven's green sea and the bark therein, the slender bark of the crescent moon, are lost in thy bounty's radiant noon. Desire and pilgrim, Compatriots, singer, sweet singer, fresh notes strewed fresh and afresh and new, heart-gladdening wine thy lips embrued, fresh and afresh and new, Saki, thy radiant feet I hail, flush with red wine the goblet's pale, flush our pale cheeks to drunken view, fresh and afresh and new, then with thy love to toy with thee, rest thee, rest, where none can see, seek thy delight, for kisses soon, fresh and afresh and new, here round thy life the vine is twined, drink, or else whereof that wine wilt find, drink to her name, to hours that flew, hours ever fresh and new, she that has stolen my heart from me, how does she wield her empery, paints and adorns and sends her too, fresh and afresh and new, wind of the dawn that passayest by, swift to the street of my fairy hot, whisper the tale of Hafiz true, fresh and afresh and new, 11. Mirth, spring, to linger in a garden fair, what more has earth to give, all ye that wait, where is the cupbearer, the flagon where, when pleasant hours slip from the hand of fate, reckon each hour as a certain gain, who seeks to know the end of mortal care, shall question his experience in vain, thy fettered life hangs on a single thread, some comfort for thy present ills devise, but those that time may bring thou shalt not dread, waters of life and Irem's paradise, what meaning do our dreams and pomp convey, save that beside a mighty stream, wide fed, we sit and sing of wine and go our way, the modest and the merry shall be seen, to boast their kinship with a single voice, there are no differences to choose between, thou art but flattering thy soul with choice, W.R. Ho knows the curtain's secret, heaven is mute, and yet with him who holds the curtain, En. With him, O braggart, thou wouldst raise dispute, although his thrall shall miss the road and air, 'tis but to teach him wisdom through distress, else pardon and compassionate mercy were but empty syllables and meaningless. The zealot thirsts for draughts of Khazar's wine, and Hafiz doth an earthly cup prefer, but what, between the two, is God's design? 12. Where is my ruined life, and where the fame of noble deeds? Look on my long-drawn road, and whence it came, and where it leads. Can drunkenness be linked to piety and good repute? Where is the preacher's holy monoi? Where is the lute, from monkeyish cell and lying garb released? O heart of mine! Where is the tavern fane, the tavern priest? Where is the wine? Past days of meeting, let the memory of you be sweet. Where are those glances fled, and where for me reproaches meet? His friend's bright face warms not the enemy when love is done. Where is the extinguished lamp that made night day? Where is the sun? Balm to mine eyes the dust, my head I bow upon thy stair. Where shall I go, where from thy presence thou art everywhere? Look not upon the dimple of her chin, danger lurks there. Where wilt thou hide, O trembling heart, fleeing in such mad haste? Where? To steadfastness and patience, friend, ask not if Hafiz keep. Patience and steadfastness I have forgot. And where is sleep? 13. Lady that hast my heart within thy hand, thou heedest me not, and if thou turn thine ear unto the wise, thou shalt not understand. Behold, the fault is thine, our words were clear, for all the tumult in my drunken brain. Praise God, who trieth not his slave in vain, nor this world nor the next shall make me fear. My weary heart eternal silence keeps, I know not who has slipped into my heart. Though I am silent, one within me weeps. My soul shall rend the painted veil apart. Where art thou, minstrel? Touch thy saddest strings, till clothed in music such as sorrow sings, my mournful story from thy zither sweeps. Lo, not at any time I lent mine ear, to hearken to the glories of the earth. Only thy beauty to mine eyes was dear. Sleep has forsaken me, and from the birth of night till day I weave bright dreams of thee, drunk with 100 nights of revelry. Where is the tavern that sets forth such cheer? My heart, sad hermit, stains the cloister floor with drops of blood, the sweat of anguish dire. Ah, wash me clean, and o'er my body pour love's generous wine. The worshippers of fire have bowed them down and magnified my name, for in my heart there burns a living flame, transpiercing death's impenetrable door. What instrument through last night's silence rang? My life into his lay the minstrel wove, and filled my brain with the sweet song he sang. It was the proclamation of thy love that shook the strings of life's most secret lyre, and still my breast heaves with last night's desire, for countless echoes from that music sprang, and ever, since the time that Hafiz heard his lady's voice, as from a rocky hill, reverberates the softly spoken word, so echoes of desire his bosom fill. 14. The nightingale with drops of his heart's blood had nourished the red rose, then came a wind, and catching at the boughs in envious mood, 100 thorns about his heart entwined, like to the parent crunching sugar, good seemed the world to me who could not stay the wind of death that swept my hopes away, light of mine eyes and harvest of my heart, and mine at least in changeless memory. Ah, Wr hen he found it easy to depart, he left the harder pilgrimage to me. O camel driver, though the cordage start, for God's sake help me lift my fallen load, and pity be my comrade of the road. My face is seamed with dust, mine eyes are wet, of dust and tears the turquoise firmament kneadeth the bricks for joy's abode, and yet, alas, and weeping yet I make lament, because the moon her jealous glances set upon the bow-bent eyebrows of my moon. He sought a lodging in the grave too soon. I had not castled, and the time is gone. What shall I play? Upon the checkered floor of night and day, death won the game forlorn, and careless now, Hafiz can lose no more. 15. Return, that to a heart wounded full sore, valiance and strength may enter in, return, and life shall pause at the deserted door, the cold dead body breathe again and burn. O come, and touch mine eyes, of thy sweet grace, for I am blind to all but to thy face. Open the gates and bid me see once more, like to a cruel Ethiopian band. Sorrow despoiled the kingdom of my heart. Return, glad Lord of Rome, and free the land. Before thine arms the foe shall break and part. See now, I hold a mirror to mine eyes, and naught but thy reflection therein lies. The glass speaks truth to them that understand. Night is with child, hast thou not heard men say? Night is with child. What will she bring to birth? I sit and ask the stars when thou art away. O come, and when the nightingale of mirth pipes in the spring awakened garden ground, in Hafiz's heart shall ring a sweeter sound. Diviner nightingales attune their lay. 16. What is wrought in the forge of the living and life? All things are not. Woe, fill me the bowl, for naught is the gear of the world and the strife. One passion has quickened the heart and the soul, the beloved's presence alone they have sought. Love at least exists, yet if love were not, heart and soul would sink to the common lot. All things are not. Like an empty cup is the fate of each, that each must fill from life's mighty flood. Not thy toil, though to paradise gate thou reach, if another has filled up thy cup with blood. Neither shade from the sweet-fruited trees could be bought. By thy praying, O cypress of truth, dost not see that Sidra and Tuba were not, and to thee all then were not. The span of thy life is as 5 little days, brief hours and swift in this halting place. Rest softly, arrest, while the shadow delays. For time's self is not and the dial's face. On the lip of oblivion we linger, and short is the way from the lip to the mouth where we pass. While the moment is thine, fill, O Saki, the glass. Ere all is not, consider the rose that breaks into flower. Neither repines though she fade and die. The powers of the world endure for an hour, but not shall remain of their majesty. Be not too sure of your crown, you who thought that virtue was easy and recompense yours. From the monastery to the wine tavern doors, the way is not. What though I, too, have tasted the salt of my tears? Though I, too, have burnt in the fires of grief, shall I cry aloud to unheeding ears? Mourn and be silent. Naught brings relief. Thou, Hafiz, art praised for the songs thou hast wrought, but bearing a stained or an honored name, the lovers of wine shall make light of thy fame. All things are not. 17. Lav not reproach at the drunkard's door. O fanatic, thou that art pure of soul, not thine on the page of life to enroll the faults of others, for less or more. I have swerved from my path, keep thou to thine own. For every man when he reaches the goal, shall reap the harvest his hands have sown. Leave me the hope of a former grace, till the curtain is lifted none can tell, whether in heaven or deepest hell, fair or vile, shall appear his face, alike the drunk and the strict of fare. For his mistress yearns in the mosque loved up, dwell, and the church, for his lodging is everywhere. If without the house of devotion I stand, I am not the first to throw wide the door. My father opened it long before. The eternal paradise slipped from his hand. All you that misconstrue my words' intent, I lie on the bricks of the tavern floor, and a brick shall serve me for argument. Heaven's garden future treasures may yield. Ah, make the most of earth's treasury. The flickering shade of the willow tree, and the grass-grown lip of the fruitful field. Trust not in deeds the eternal day shall reveal the Creator's sentence on thee. But till then, what his finger has writ, who can say? Bring the cup in thine hand to the judgment seat. Thou shalt rise, O Hafiz, to heaven's gate, from the tavern where thou hast tarried late. And if thou hast worshipped wine, thou shalt meet the reward that the faithful attain. If such thy life, then fear not thy fate. Thou shalt not have lived and worshipped in vain. 18. Slaves of thy shining eyes are even those that diadems of might and empire bear, drunk with the wine that from thy red lip flows. Are they that ye and the grapes delight forswear, drip, like the wind across a violet bed, before thy many lovers, weeping low, and clad like violets in blue robes and woe, who feel thy wind-blown hair and bow the head, thy messenger the breath of dawn, and mine, a stream of tears, since lover and beloved keep not their secret, through my verses shine, though other lays my flowers grace have proved, and countless nightingales have sung thy praise. When veiled beneath thy curls thou passayest, see, to right and leftward those that welcome thee have bartered peace and rest on thee to gaze. But thou that knowest God by heart, away. Wine drunk, love drunk, we inherit paradise. His mercy is for sinners, hence and pray. Where wine thy cheek red as red or gay one does, and leave the cell to faces sinister. O Israel, whose happy feet bathed in life's fount, help one who toils afoot the horseman mount, and hasten on their way, I scarce can stir. Ah, loose me not. Ah, set not Hafiz free from out the bondage of thy gleaming hair. Save only those, safe, and at liberty, that fast and chained in thy linked ringlets are, but from the image of his dusty cheek. Learn this from Hafiz, proudest heads shall bend, and dwellers on the threshold of a friend be crowned with the dust that crowns the meek. 19. What drunkenness is this that brings me hope? Who was the cupbearer, and whence the wine? That minstrel singing with full voice divine. What lay was his? For mid the woven rope of song, he brought word from my friend to me. Said to his melody, the wind itself bore joy to Solomon. The lapwing flew from Sheba's garden close, bringing good tidings of its queen and rose. Take thou the cup and go where meadows span the plain, whither the bird with tuneful throat has brought spring's sweeter note. Welcome, O rose, and full-blown eglantine. The violets their scented gladness fling. Jasmine breathes purity, art sorrowing. Like an unopened bud, O heart of mine, the wind of dawn that sets closed blossoms free brings its warm airs to thee. Saki, thy kiss shall still my bitter cry. Lift up your grief-bowed heads, all ye that weep. The healer brings joy's wine cup, oh, drink deep tea. Disciple of the tavern priest am I. The pious sheik may promise future bliss. He brings me where joy is. The greedy glances of a Tartar horde to me seemed kind, my foeman spared me not, though one poor robe was all that I had got. But heaven served Hafiz, as a slave his lord. And when he fled through regions desolate, heaven brought him to thy gate. XX. From out the street of so and so. O wind, bring perfume sweet to me, for I am sick and pale with woe. O bring me rest from misery, the dust that lies before her door, love's long desired elixir, pour upon this wasted heart of mine. Bring me a promise and a sign, between the ambush of mine eyes and my heart's fort there's enmity. Her eyebrows bow, the dart that flies beneath her lashes, bring to me sorrow and absence, glances cold, before my time have made me old. A wine cup from the hand of youth, bring me for pity and for ruth. Then shall all unbelievers taste a draught or two of that same wine. But if they like it not, oh haste, and let joy's flowing cup be mine. Cupbearer, cease today, nor wait until tomorrow, or from fate some passport to felicity, some written surety bring to me. My heart threw back the veil of woe, consoled by Hafiz melody. From out the street of so and so, O wind, bring perfume sweet to me. XXI. Not all the sum of earthly happiness is worth the bowed head of a moment's pain. And if I sell for wine my dervish dress, worth more than what I sell is what I gain. Land where my lady dwells, thou holdest me enchained, else fars were but a barren soil. Not worth the journey over land and sea, not worth the toil. Down in the quarter where they sell red wine, my holy carpet scarce would fetch a cup. How brave a pledge of piety is mine, which is not worth a goblet foaming up. Mine enemy heaped scorn on me and said, forth from the tavern gate, why am I thrust from off the threshold? Is my fallen head not worth the dust? Wash white that travel-stained sad robe of thine, where word and deed alike one color bear. The grape's fair purple garment shall outshine thy many-colored rags and tattered gear. Full easy seemed the sorrow of the sea, lightened by hope of gain. Hope flew too fast. 100 pearls were poor indemnity, not worth the blast. The Sultan's crown, with priceless jewels set, encircles fear of death and constant dread. It is a headdress much desired, and yet art sure 'tis worth the danger to the head? 'Twere best for thee to hide thy face from those that long for thee. The conqueror's reward is never worth the army's long-drawn woes, worth fire and sword. Ah, seek the treasure of a mind at rest, and store it in the treasury of ease. Not worth a loyal heart, a tranquil breast, were all the riches of thy lands and seas. Ah, scorn, like Hafiz, the delights of earth. Ask not one grain of favor from the base. 200 sacks of jewels were not worth thy soul's disgrace. XXII. The rose is not fair without the beloved's face, nor merry the spring without the sweet laughter of wine. The path through the fields, and winds from a flower strewn place, without her bright cheek, which glows like a tulip fine, nor wind softly blowing, fields deep in corn, are fair, and lips like to sugar, grace like a flower that sways, are not without kisses many and dalliance sweet. If thousands of voices sang not the rose's praise, the joy of the cypress her opening bud to greet, nor dancing of boughs nor blossoming rose were fair, though limned by most skillful fingers, no pictures please, unless the beloved's image is drawn therein. The garden and flowers, and hair flowing loose on the breeze, unless to my lady's side I may strive and win. Nor garden, nor flowers, nor loose flying curls are fair. Hast seen at a marriage feast, when the mirth runs hot, the revellers scatter gold with a careless hand. The gold of thy heart, O Hafiz, despised doth lie, not worthy thy love to be cast by a drunken band, at the feet of her who is fairer than all that's fair. XXIII. My lady, that did change this house of mine into a heaven when that she dwelt therein, from head to foot an angel's grace divine enwrapped her, pure she was, spotless of sin, fair as the moon her countenance, and wise lords of the kind and tender glance, her eyes with an abounding loveliness did shine. Then said my heart, here will I take my rest. This city breeds her love in every part, but to a distant horn was she addressed. Alas, he knew it not, alas, poor heart. The influence of some cold malignant star has loosed my hand that held her, lone and far. She journeyeth that lay upon my breast. Not only did she lift my bosom's veil, reveal its inmost secret, but her grace drew back the curtain from heaven's mansions pale, and gave her there an eternal dwelling place. The flower-strewn river lip and meadows fair, the rose herself but fleeting treasures were. Regret and winter follow in their trail. Dear were the days which perished with my friend. Ah, what is left of life, now she is dead? All wisdomless and profitless I spend. The nightingale his own life's blood doth shed, when, to the kisses of the wind, the morn unveils the rose's splendor with his torn and jealous breast he dyes her petals red. Yet pardon her, O heart, for poor wert thou, a humble dervish on the dusty way. Crowned with the crown of empire was her brow, and in the realms of beauty she bore sway. But all the joy that Hafiz hand might hold lay in the beats that morn and eve he told. Morn with God's praise, and see, he holds it now. XXIV. Not one is filled with madness like to mine. In all the taverns, my soiled robe lies here. There my neglected book, both pledged for wine. With dust my heart is thick, that should be clear. A glass to mirror forth the great king's face. One ray of light from out thy dwelling place, to pierce my night, O God, and draw me near. From out mine eyes unto my garment's hem, a river flows, perchance my cypress tree. Beside that stream may rear her lofty stem, watering her roots with tears. Ah, bring to me the wine vessel, since my love's cheek is hid. A flood of grief comes from my heart unhidden, and turns mine eyes into a bitter sea. Nay, by the hand that sells me wine, I vow, no more the brimming cup shall touch my lips, until my mistress with her radiant brow adorns my feast until love's secret slips from her, as from the candle's tongue of flame. Though I, the singed moth, for very shame, dare not extol love's light without eclipse. Red wine I worship, and I worship her. Speak not to me of anything beside, for naught but these on earth or heaven I care. What though the proud narcissus flowers defy thy shining eyes to prove themselves mon bright? Yet heed them not, those that are clear of sight. follow not them to whom all lights denied. Before the tavern door a Christian sang, to sound of pipe and drum, what time the earth awaited the white dawn, and gaily rang upon mine ear those harbingers of mirth. If the true faith be such as thou dost say, alas, my Hafiz, that this sweet today should bring unknown tomorrow to the birth. XXV. The days of absence and the bitter nights of separation, all are at an end. Where is the influence of the star that blights my hope? The omen answers, at an end. Autumn's abundance, creeping autumn's mirth, are ended and forgot when o'er the earth the wind of spring with soft warm feet doth wend. The day of hope, hid beneath sorrow's veil, has shown its face. Cry that all may hear. Come forth. The powers of night no more prevail. One. Praise be to God, now that the rose is near, with long desired and flaming coronet. The cruel stinging thorns all men forget. The wind of WT inter ends its proud career. The long confusion of the nights that were, anguish that dwelt within my heart, is o'er. Neath the protection of my lady's hair, grief nor disquiet come to me no more. What though her curls wrought all my misery? My lady's gracious face can comfort me, and at the end give what I sorrow for. Light-hearted to the tavern let me go, where laughs the pipe, the merry cymbals kiss. Under the history of all my woe, my mistress sets her hand and writes, Finus. Oh, linger not, nor trust the inconstant days that promised, where thou art thy lady stays. The tale of separation ends with this. Joy's certain path, O Saki, thou hast shown. Long may thy cup be full, thy days be fair. Trouble and sickness from my breast have flown. Order and health thy wisdom marshals there. Not one that numbered Hafiz' name among the great unnumbered were his tears, unsung. Praise him that sets an end to endless care. XXVI. The secret draught of wine and love repressed. Are joys foundationless then come whatever may come, slave to the grape I stand confessed. Unloose, O friend, the knot of thy heart's care, despite the warning that the heavens reveal. For all his thought, never astronomer, that loose the knot of fate those heavens conceal. Not all the changes that thy days unfold shall rouse thy wonder. Time's revolving sphere over 1,000 lives like thine has rolled. That cup within thy fingers, dost not hear the voices of dead kings speak through the clay? Kovad, famine, Shemsud, their dust is here. Gently upon me set thy lips. They say, what man can tell where Kaz and Kai have gone? Who knows where even now the restless wind scatters the dust of Jem's imperial throne? And where the tulip, following close behind the feet of spring, her scarlet chalice rears, their fur hat for the love of Shireen pined, dyeing the desert red with his heart's tears. Bring the cup, drink we while yet we may, to our souls ruin the forbidden draught. Perhaps a treasure trove is hid away among those ruins where the wine has left. Perhaps the tulip knows the fickleness of fortune's smile, for on her stalk's green shaft she bears a wine cup through the wilderness. The murmuring stream of Runabad, the breeze that blows from out Mosalla's fair pleasaunce, summon me back when I would seek heart's ease. Traveling afar, what though love's countenance be turned full harsh and sorrowful on me? I care not so that time's unfriendly glance still from my lady's beauty turned be. Like Hafiz, drain the goblet cheerfully, while minstrels touch the lute and sweetly sing. For all that makes thy heart rejoice in thee, ends of life's single, slender, silken string. XXVII. My friend has fled. Alas, my friend has fled, and left me naught but tears and pain behind. Like smoke above a flame caught by the wind, so rose she from my breast and forth she sped. Drunk with desire, I seized love's cup divine. But she that held it poured the bitter wine of separation into it and fled. The hunter she, and I the helpless prey. Wounded and sick, round me her toils she drew. My heart into a sea of sorrow threw. Bound up her camel loads and fled away. Fain had I laid an ambush for her soul. She saw and vanished, and the timid foal. Good fortune, slipped the rein and would not stay. My heart was all too narrow for my woe. And tears of blood my weeping eyes have shed. A crimson stream across the desert sped. Rising from out my sad heart's overflow. She knew not what love's meanest slave can tell. 'Tis sweet to serve, but threw me a farewell. Kissing my threshold, turned, and cried I go up. In the clear dawn, before the east was red. Before the rose had torn her veil in two. A nightingale through Hafiz garden flew. Stayed but to fill its song with tears, and fled. XXVIII. Hast thou forgotten when thy stolen glance was turned to me, when on my happy face clearly thy love was read, which doth enhance all happiness? Or when my sore disgrace hast thou forgot, drew from thine eyes reproof, and made thee hold thy sweet red lips aloof, dowered, like Jesus' breath, with healing grace? Hast thou forgotten how the glorious swift nights flew past, the cup of dawn brimmed hot, my love and I alone, God favoring us? And when she like a waning moon did lot, and sleep had drawn his coif about her brow, hast thou forgot? Heaven's crescent moon would bow the head, and in her service pace the sky. Hast thou forgotten, when a sojourner within the tavern gates and drunk with wine, I found love's passionate wisdom hidden there, which in the mosque none even now divine. The goblet's carbuncle, hast thou forgot? Laughed out aloud, and speech flew hot, and fast between thy ruby lips and mine. Hast thou forgotten when thy cheek's dear torch lighted the beacon of desire in me? And when my heart, like foolish moths that scorch their wings and yet return, turned all to thee, within the banquet hall of good repute? Hast thou forgot, the wine self-pressed my suit, and filled the morn with drunken jollity? Hast thou forgotten when thou laid st aright the uncut gems of Hafiz inmost thought, and side by side thy sweet care strung the bright array of verse on verse? Hast thou forgot? XXIX. From Canaan Joseph shall return, whose face a little time was hidden. Weep no more. Oh, weep no more. In sorrow's dwelling place, the roses yet shall spring from the bare floor, and heart bowed down beneath the secret pain. O stricken heart, joy shall return again. Peace to the love-tossed brain. Oh, weep no more. Oh, weep no more. For once again life's spring shall throne her in the meadows green, and o'er her head the minstrel of the night shall fling a canopy of rose leaves, score on score. The secret of the world thou shalt not learn, and yet behind the veil love's fire may burn. Weep st thou, let hope return and weep no more. Today may pass, tomorrow pass, before the turning will give me my heart's desire. Heaven's self shall change, and turn not evermore. The universal will of fate in ire. O pilgrim nearing Mecca's holy fane, the thorny Magdalene wounds thee in vain. The desert blooms again. Oh, weep no more. What though the river of mortality round the unstable house of life doth roar? Weep not, O heart, Noah shall pilot thee, and guide thine ark to the desired shore. The goal lies far, and perilous is thy road, yet every path leads to that same abode, where thou shalt drop thy load. Oh, weep no more. Mine enemies have persecuted me, my love has turned and fled from out my door. God counts our tears and knows our misery. Ah, weep not. He has heard thy weeping sore, and chained in poverty and plunged in night. O Hafiz, take thy Koran and recite litanies infinite. and weep no more. All hail, Shiraz, hail. O sight without peer. May God be the watchman before thy gate, that the feet of misfortune enter not here, lest my Runabad be left desolate. 100 times, God forbid. I pray. Its limpid stream where the shadows wait, like the fount of Isra giveth life for aye. Twixt Jafrabad and Mosalas flows, flies the north wind laden with ambergris. Oh, come to Shiraz when the north wind blows. There abide the angel Gabriel's peace, with him who is Lord of its treasures. The fame of the sugar of Egypt shall fade and cease, for the breath of our beauties has put it to shame. O wind that blows from the sun rising, what news of the maid with the drunken eyes? What news of the lovely maid dost thou bring? Bid me not wake from my dream and arise. In dreams I have rested my head at her feet, when stillness unbroken around me lies. The vision of her makes my solitude sweet. If for wine the cupbearer pour forth my blood, as the milk from a mother's bosom flows, at his word let my heart yield its crimson flood. But, Hafiz, Hafiz, thou art of those, forever fearing lest absence be near, for the days when thou heldst the beloved close. Why rise not thy thanks so that all may hear? XXXI. The breath of Dawn's musk-strewing wind shall blow, the ancient world shall turn to youth again, and other wines from out spring's chalice flow. Wine red, the Judas tree shall set before, the pure white jessamine a brimming cup, and wind flowers lift their scarlet chalice up, for the star-pale narcissus to adore. The long-drawn tyranny of grief shall pass, parting shall end in meeting. The lament of the sad bird that sang alas, alas, shall reach the rose in her red curtained tent. Forth from the mosque, the tavern calls to me. Would st hinder us? The preacher's homily is long, but life will soon be spent. Ah, foolish heart! The pleasures of today, if thou abandon, will tomorrow stand. Thy surety for the gold thou st thrown away. In Shaban the troops of grief disband, and crown the hours with wine's red coronet. The sun of merriment ere long will set, and meager Ramazan is close at hand. Dear is the rose now her sweets proclaim, while yet the purple petals blush and blow. Hither adown the path of spring she came, and by the path of autumn she will go. Now, while we listen, minstrel, tune thy lay. Thyself hast said, the present steals away. The future comes, and bringing what? Dost know? Summoned by thy melody did Hafiz rise, out of the darkness near thy lips to dwell. Back to the dark again his pathway lies. Sing out, sing clear, and singing cry, farewell. XXXII. Upon a branch of the straight cypress tree, once more the patient nightingale doth rest. O rose, he cries, evil be turned from thee. I sing thee all men's thanks, thou blossomest, and hope springs up in every joyless heart. Let not the nightingale lament apart, nor with thy proud thorns wound his faithful breast. I will not mourn my woeful banishment. He that has hungered for his lady's face, shall, when she cometh, know a great content. The zealot seeks a heavenly dwelling place, here is to welcome him in paradise. Here at the tavern gate my heaven lies. I need no welcome but my lady's grace. Better to drink red wine than tears, say I, while the lute sings, and if one bid thee cease, God is the merciful. Thou shalt reply, to some, life brings but joy and endless ease. Ah, let them laugh although the jest be vain. For me the source of pleasure lay in pain, and weeping for my lady I found peace. Hafiz, why art thou ever telling o'er the tale of absence and of sorrow's night? Knowest thou not that parting goes before all meeting, and from darkness comes the light? XXXIII. The jewel of the secret treasury. is still the same as once it was, the seal upon love's treasure casket, and the key, are still what thieves can neither break nor steal. Still among lovers loyalty is found, and therefore faithful eyes still strew the ground, with the same pearls that mine once strewed for thee. Question the wandering winds and thou shalt know, that from the dusk until the dawn doth break, my consolation is that still they blow, the perfume of thy curls across my cheek. A dart from thy bent brows has wounded me. Ah, come. My heart still waiteth helplessly, has waited ever, till thou heal its pain. If seekers after rubies there were none, still to the dark mines where the gems had lain, would pierce, as he was wont, the radiant sun, setting the stones ablaze, would st hide the stain of my heart's blood red the ruby glows, and whence it came my wounded bosom knows, upon thy lips to show what thou hast done. Let not thy curls waylay my pilgrim soul, as robbers use, and plunder me no more. Years join dead year, but thine extortionate rule is still the same, merciless as before. Sing, Hafiz, sing again of eyes that weep, for still the fountain of our tears is deep, as once it was, and still with tears is full. Thursiv. Last night I dreamed that angels stood without the tavern door, and knocked in vain, and wept. They took the clay of Adam, and, method, molded a cup therewith while all men slept. O dwellers in the halls of chastity, you brought love's passionate red wine to me. Down to the dust I am, your bright feet stepped, for heaven's self was all too weak to bear the burden of his love God laid on it. He turned to seek a messenger elsewhere, and in the book of fate my name was writ. Between my Lord and me such concord lies, as makes the hearers glad in paradise. With songs of praise through the green glades they flit, 100 dreams of fancies garnered store. Assail me Father Adam went astray, tempted by one poor grain of corn. Wherefore, absolve and pardon him that turns away, though the soft breath of truth reaches his ears. For 72 jangling creeds he hears, and loud-voiced fable calls him ceaselessly. That is not the flame of love's true fire, which makes the torchlight shadows dance in rings, but where the radiance draws the moth's desire, and sends him forth with scorched and drooping wings. The heart of one who dwells retired shall break, remembering a black mole and a red cheek, and his life ebb, sapped at its secret springs. Yet since the earliest time that man has sought to comb the locks of speech, his goodly bride, not one, like Hafiz, from the face of thought, has torn the veil of ignorance aside. XXXV. Forget not when dear friend to friend returned. Forget not days gone by, forget them not. My mouth has tasted bitterness, and learned to drink the envenomed cup of mortal lot. Forget not when a sweeter draught was mine. Loud rose the songs of them that drank that wine. Forget them not. Forget not loyal lovers long since dead. Though faith and loyalty should be forgot, though the earth cover the enamored head, and in the dust wisdom and passion rot, my friends have thrust me from their memory. Vainly 1,000 times I cry, forget me not. Weary I turn me to my bonds again. Once there were hands strong to deliver me. Forget not when they broke a poor slave's chain, though from mine eyes tears flow unceasingly. I think on them whose rose gardens are set beside the Zinde rod, and I forget life's misery. Sorrow has made her lair in my breast, and undisturbed she lies. Forget them not, that drove her forth like to a hunted beast. Hafiz, thou and thy tears shall be forgot. Lock fast the gates of thy sad heart, but those that held the key to thine unspoken woes, forget them not. 30. Beloved, who has bid thee ask no more, how fares my life? To play the enemy, and ask not where he dwells that was thy friend. Thou art the breath of mercy passing o'er the whole wide world, and the offender up. Ah, let the rip my tears have channeled and question the past no more. If thou wouldst know the secret of love's fire, it shall be manifest unto thine eyes. Question the torch flame burning steadfastly, but ask no more the sweet wind's wayward choir. Ask me of faith and love that never dies. Darius, Alexander's sovereignty. I sing of these no more. Ask not the monk to give thee truth's pure gold. He hides no riches neath his lying guise. And ask not him to teach thee alchemy, whose treasure house is bare, his heart stone cold. Ask to what goal the wandering dervish hies. They knew not his desire who counseled thee. Question his rags no more, and in their learned books thou lt seek in vain the key to love's locked gateway, hard grown wise. In pain and sorrow, ask no remedy, but when the time of roses comes again, take what it gives, O Hafiz, ere it flies. And ask not why the hour has brought it thee, and wherefore ask no more. XXXVII. Arise, and fill a golden goblet up, until the wine of pleasure overflow, before into thy skull's pale empty cup, the groomer cupbearer the dust shall throw. Yet, to the vale of silence we must come, yet shall the flagon laugh and heaven's dome thrill with an answering echo ere we go. Thou knowest that the riches of this field make no abiding, let the goblet's fire consume the fleeting harvest earth may yield. O cypress tree, green home of love's sweet choir, when I unto the dust I am have passed, forget thy former wantonness, and cast thy shadow o'er the dust of my desire. Flow, bitter tears, and wash me clean, for they, whose feet are set upon the road that lies twixt earth and heaven, thou shalt be pure, they say. Before unto the pure thou lift thine eyes, seeing but himself, the zealot sees but sin. Grief to the mirror of his soul let in, O Lord, and clouded with the breath of sighs. No tainted eye shall gaze upon her face, no glass but that of an unsullied heart shall dare reflect my lady's perfect grace. Though like to snakes that from the herbage start, thy curling locks have wounded me full sore. Thy red lips hold the power of the bezoar. Ah, touch and heal me where I lie apart, and when from her the wind blows perfume sweet. Tear, Hafiz, like the rose, thy robe in two, and cast thy rags beneath her flying feet, to deck the place thy mistress passes through. 38. I cease not from desire till my desire is satisfied, or let my mouth attain my love's red mouth, or let my soul expire. Side from those lips that sought her lips in vain, others may find another love as fair. Upon her threshold I have laid my head, the dust shall cover me, still lying there, when from my body life and love have fled. My soul is on my lips ready to fly, but grief beats in my heart and will not cease, because not once before I die, will her sweet lips give all my longing peace. My breath is narrowed down to one long sigh, for a red mouth that burns my thoughts like fire. When will that mouth draw near and make reply to one whose life is straitened with desire? When I am dead, open my grave and see the cloud of smoke that rises round thy feet. In my dead heart the fire still burns for thee, yet the smoke rises from my winding sheet. Ah, come, beloved, for the meadows wait thy coming, and the thorn bears flowers instead of thorns, the cypress fruit, and desolate bare winter from before thy steps has fled, hoping within some garden ground to find a red rose soft and sweet as thy soft cheek. Through every meadow blows the western wind, through every garden he is fain to seek. Reveal thy face, that the whole world may be bewildered by thy radiant loveliness. The cry of man and woman comes to thee. Open thy lips and comfort their distress. Each curling lock of thy luxuriant hair breaks into barbed hooks to catch my heart. My broken heart is wounded everywhere, with countless wounds from which the red drops start. Yet when sad lovers meet and tell their sighs, not without praise shall Hafiz' name be said, not without tears, in those pale companies, where joy has been forgot and hope has fled. 6. Cypress and tulip and sweet eglantine, of these the tale from lip to lip is sent, washed by 3 cups, O Saki, of thy wine. My song shall turn upon this argument. Spring, bride of all the meadows, rises up, clothed in her ripest beauty, fill the cup. Of spring's handmaidens runs the song of mine, the sugar-loving birds of distant Ind, except the Persian sweetmeat that was brought to fair Bengal, have found not to their mind. See how my song, that in one night was wrought, defies the limits set by space and time. O'er plains and mountain tops my fearless rhyme, child of a night, its year-long road shall find. And thou whose sense is dimmed with piety, thou too shalt learn the magic of her eyes. Forth comes the caravan of sorcery, when from those gates the blue-veined curtains rise, and when she walks the flowery meadows through, upon the jasmine's shamed cheek the dew gathers like sweat, she is so fair to see. Ah, swerve not from the path of righteousness, though the world lure thee, like a wrinkled crow, hiding beneath her robe lasciviousness. She plunders them that pause and heed her moan. From Sinai Moses brings thee wealth untold. Bow not thine head before the calf of gold, like Samir, following after wickedness. From the Shah's garden blows the wind of spring. The tulip in her lifted chalice bears a dewy wine of heaven's ministering, until Ghiyasuddin, the Sultan, hears sing, Hafiz, of thy longing for his face. The breezes whispering round thy dwelling place shall carry thy lament unto the king. XL. The margin of a stream, the willow's shade, a mind inclined to song, a mistress sweet, a cupbearer whose cheek outshines the rose, a friend upon whose heart thy heart is laid. O happy start, let not thine hours fleet unvalued, may each minute as it goes lay tribute of enjoyment at thy feet, that thou mayest live and know thy life is sweet. Let every one upon whose heart desire for a fair face lies like a burden sore, that all his hopes may reach their goal unchecked, throw branches of wild rue upon his fire. My soul is like a bride, with a rich store of maiden thoughts and jeweled fancies decked, and in time's gallery I yet may meet some picture meant for me, some image sweet. Give thanks for nights spent in good company, and take the gifts a tranquil mind may bring. No heart is dark when the kind moon doth shine, and grass-grown river banks are fair to see. The Saki's radiant eyes, God favoring, are like a wine cup brimming o'er with wine, and him my drunken sense goes out to greet, for and the pain he leaves behind is sweet. Hafiz, thy life has spent untouched by care. With me towards the tavern turn thy feet. The fairest robbers thou lt encounter there, and they will teach thee what to learn is sweet. XLI. The days of spring are here. The eglantine, the rose, the tulip from the dust have risen. And thou, why liest thou beneath the dust? Like the full clouds of spring, these eyes of mine shall scatter tears upon the grave thy prison, till thou too from the earth thine head shalt thrust. XLII. True love has vanished from every heart. What has befallen all lovers fair? When did the bonds of friendship part? What has befallen the friends that were? Ah, why are the feet of Israel lingering? The waters of life are no longer clear. The purple rose has turned pale with fear. And what has befallen the wind of spring? None now saith, a love was mine, loyal and wise, to dispel my care. None remembers love's right divine. What has befallen all lovers fair? In the midst of the field, to the player's feet, The ball of God's favor and mercy came. But none has leapt forth to renew the game. Wr hat has befallen the horseman fleet. Roses have bloomed, yet no bird rejoiced. No vibrating throat has rung with the tale. What can have silenced the hundred-voiced? What has befallen the nightingale? Heaven's music is hushed, and the planets roll in silence, has Zara broken her lute. There is none to press out the vine's ripe fruit. And what has befallen the foaming bowl? A city where kings are but lovers crowned. A land from the dust of which friendship springs. Who has laid waste that enchanted ground? What has befallen the city of kings? Years have passed since a ruby was won. From the mine of manhood, they labor in vain. The fleet-footed wind and the quickening rain. And what has befallen the light of the sun? Hafiz, the secret of God's dread task. No man knoweth, in youth, or prime, or in wisest age, of whom wouldst thou ask? What has befallen the wheels of time? Slain. Where are the tidings of union? That I may arise. Forth from the dust I will rise up to welcome thee. My soul, like a homing bird, yearning for paradise, shall arise and soar, from the snares of the world set free. When the voice of thy love shall call me to be thy slave, I shall rise to a greater far than the mastery of life and the living, time and the mortal span. Pour down, O Lord, from the clouds of thy guiding grace, the rain of a mercy that quickeneth on my grave. Before, like dust that the wind bears from place to place, I arise and flee beyond the knowledge of man. When to my grave thou turnest thy blessed feet, wine and the lute thou shalt bring in thine hand to me. Thy voice shall ring through the folds of my winding sheet, and I will arise and dance to thy minstrelsy. Though I be old, clasp me one night to thy breast, and I, when the dawn shall come to awaken me, with the flush of youth on my cheek from thy bosom will rise. Rise up. Let mine eyes delight in thy stately grace. Thou art the goal to which all men's endeavor has pressed, and thou the idol of Hafiz worship, thy face from the world and life shall bid him come forth and arise.